Hello and welcome to Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Sheila Doles. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm your worship associate today. Whether you're joining us in person or online, I invite you to take a deep breath as we center ourselves for worship. We open in welcome to the ancestral people of this land, acknowledging that our church, like Olive Burke, rests on the unceded territory of the Manahoac tribe of the Great Sioux Nation. We seek healing and the realization of justice with the people of this land who live on in their descendants, the present-day members of the Monacan Indian Nation, the Patawomac Indian Nation, and Piscataway Indian Nation. We honor the ancestors as we move toward healing so that all together may one day know full justice.
Put one foot in front of the other and he will not hold. One foot in front of the other and he will love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and he will love. One foot in front of the other and he will love. And he will love. And he will love.
Welcome with that to today's service. Our minister, Reverend William Levewood, is here most Sundays, but today we have a special treat. I'm happy to welcome Reverend Kirk Freeman. Pastor Kirk is the minister at Davies UU in Camp Springs, Maryland, and today we're doing a pulpit swap. So Rev Lev is preaching at Davies, and Pastor Kirk is joining us here. Whether you're a longtime member or a newcomer or something in between, we encourage you to stay for our social hour immediately after the service. We're so delighted that you decided to join us today. This month's theme is nurturing gratitude, and next Sunday, we're excited to hear reflections from Accotinkers sharing about gratitude. We're excited to have Reverend Kirk Freeman with us again this Sunday, sharing about gratitude and belonging, care and safety. Another way we practice gratitude and generosity for our neighbors and our commitment to the right of every person to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion is through our hypothermia shelter. And Ed Kringer has a little bit to tell us about that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Ed Kringer, a member of your board, but here today I am not up here asking you for money. As Sheila said, I am sharing with you the hypothermia shelter. But first, we had a wonderful Friendsgiving yesterday, and we had over 50 people who attended, and the food was just absolutely fantastic. So thank you, TAC, wherever you are out there. Well done. And I know we're all looking forward to Thanksgiving this Thursday. You know, this is a chance for us to be thankful for friends, community, and all the blessings we have. However, as Rev Lev taught us last Sunday, deeply intertwined with being thankful is the act of sharing our gifts with others. And to me, one of the most personal, hands-on ways we do that here at Accotink is through our hypothermia shelter program. For those of you who are new to Accotink, and I have to admit, I love seeing all the new faces out there, I want you to know we have joined with other faith communities to host a hypothermia shelter week for 15 years. And this year, our week will be the 11th through the 18th of January. We provide a warm place to sleep, dinner each night, and toiletries and clothing for our 35 nightly guests. To make all this happen, though, it takes a community, and we need a setup crew. We need people to prepare meals and bring them to the church, and we need other people to serve the food and clean up the kitchen when we're through. This is a family-friendly event. I want to foot-stomp that. This is a family-friendly event, and older children are welcome to participate with their parents. In addition, Michelle and the Children's Spiritual Development Committee will be providing ways for our younger children to be involved. If you want to be part of this and help, look for an email blast coming out, and it'll with a sign-up genius in it to sign up for various activities. And this will also be in the this week, every week until we have the shelter. So, but if you have any questions, please see me. I'll be happy to address them, and I'll be here after church most Sundays. So, please.
Every Sunday, as part of our Defending Democracy campaign, we share some good news. Today, here's the good news, that the Supreme Court rejected a petition seeking to overturn their 2015 ruling on same-sex marriage nationwide. Yeah. Also, the heads of many faith traditions, including multiple Jewish denominations, Presbyterians, United Church of Christ, Disciples of Christ, and Unitarian Universalists, have issued a landmark statement supporting trans, intersex, and non-binary people, with our UUA president, Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, as one of the lead authors. Now, as we light our chalice, please rise today in body or in spirit and join in reciting these words describing how we put our love at the center of Unitarian Universalism and cultivate compassion and generosity. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. As an expression of the value of equity, we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values of generosity, discipline, of love.
Good morning. Well, I am that aforementioned Michelle Anderson. I use the pronouns she and her, and I'm your Children and Youth Spiritual Development Director, and I'm excited to see all of you today. Speaking of giving and our generosity campaigns, we have a lot of them in November. Just wanted to remind you about the one that we started, the 1st of November. The guest at your table, I've already had several people bring back their boxes, so thank you. And if you still have yours at home, bring it back next week, filled with all your donations for the guest at your table. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you want one, I still have 2 up here in the front. They'll be in the front row and you can grab one. But for now, I have a story to share. This one was chosen by Reverend Kirk, and it is called, What Does It Mean to Be Safe? It's by Rana DiOrio, and pictures are by Zen Liu. What does it mean to be safe? This is a thoughtful discussion for readers of all ages about drawing healthy boundaries and making safe choices. What does it mean to be safe? Think about that. Does it mean beating a throw to home plate? You're safe! No, that's not what we're talking about today. Does it mean never taking risks? No. Does it mean building walls? No. Being safe means feeling secure in your environment, protected from danger, and learning how to respond to emergencies. Being aware of your limits and honoring them. Respecting the power of things that could harm you. Drawing healthy boundaries with people you know. Does anyone know what the little boy is doing? And why he's away from looks like somebody that loves him? He doesn't like hugs. They don't like hugs. And that's okay. That's okay. That's keeping yourself safe. Understanding that yes means yes, and that silence is not a yes. So what's he doing instead? If he doesn't like hugs, he's giving a high five. Yeah. So sometimes when I see you, I'll offer to give you a high five or a fist bump. And you can choose. And you can choose neither, if that's okay with you, if that's what you want. So being safe is not giving into peer pressure and not accepting bullying. Knowing that your problems should not be secrets. Being able to tell someone what you think or how you feel without being afraid that they will get angry or hurt you. Having people in your life, parents, grandparents, friends, teachers, who care deeply about your well-being. Not revealing information about yourself to strangers. Feeling as though everyone has access to what they need. Choosing your own beliefs, whom you love, and being accepted for being you. Checking first with your caring adult when you feel uncertain. Believing you can ask for help and receive it whenever you really need it. As some of you have been helping me today. Thank you. Being safe means listening to your inner voice and realizing that you have the power to protect yourself and others. So show your friends what it means to be safe and spread the word. When we take care of ourselves, our families, and our friends, our world is a safer, more peaceful, and more joyful place. Thank you.
All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep? And have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da da dee da da da, la la da 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 dee da.
Our reading this morning comes from a piece by Andrea Gibson. They wrote, "Lately, I've been thinking about who I want to love, and how I want to love, and why I want to love the way I want to love, and what I need to learn to love that way, and who I need to become the kind of love I want to be. And when I break it all down, when I whittle it into a single breath, it essentially comes out like this. Before I die, I want to be somebody's favorite hiding place, the place they can put everything they know they need to survive, every secret, every solitude, every nervous prayer, and be absolutely certain I will keep it safe. I will keep it safe.
Good morning. I am so happy to be back here at Accotink this morning. My name is Reverend Kirk Freeman, and as was shared by Sheila earlier, Rev Lev is at my congregation, the Davies UU congregation in Camp Springs this morning. A couple things I want to note before my message is, one, I forgot my stole. This is my admission as a third-year minister that I need to start tracking where my stoles are more, which is an important thing apparently. And I also want to note, since I've been here, I see a lot of new faces. I see faces that I've met in the past, conversations I've had in the past, and I'm so excited to see so much energy here in the congregation. I also heard there was an election here in Virginia recently, and I want to note that I'm here in celebration of that. Finally, I want to thank Brad. Your music here is so wonderful, and I love working with Brad. I especially want to thank him for sharing the Rainbow Connection this morning. The day after Thanksgiving, I'll begin my annual ritual of listening to the John Denver and the Muppets singing their Christmas songs, and so this is sort of an entranceway into that. And I had not heard that hymn, What We Need Is Here, and I loved that song today, and I think it actually fits perfectly with what I'm hoping to share this morning with you. Can you all hear me okay? I know I'm far from the microphone. All right, wonderful. I want to tell you a story. Back in August, a couple of hundred youth ages 12 to 17 were busy packing up their bags for a week-long personal growth and leadership camp in upstate New York. They gathered their usual items for sleeping in cabins in the woods, such as sunblock, flashlights, insect repellent, extra socks, clothes they didn't mind getting muddy or wet. And the camp's notes included important reminders to bring any prescriptions they might need, and an assurance that medical staff would be there to support them in that and anything else they would need. The packing list also reminded the campers to review and sign the community agreements. Much like the covenants we agree to here in our UU congregations, these agreements were about creating a safe, welcoming space. They emphasized kindness and respect, safety and consent, and commitments to care for the individual and communal needs and spaces at the camp. Upon their arrival to camp, campers and their families were greeted by counselors and staff who treated newcomers and returning campers alike with the same warmth and welcome. Many on the staff already knew the newcomers' names thanks to photos or shared interests, and they were eager to build connections and a sense of belonging. The steady stream of campers continued to check in, and as some were turning in their electronics into a box where it would be stored for the full week. Right? I couldn't do it. And as others completed a brief medical screening, the youth were entering the building to a choir of greetings and welcomes. At one point after one of these outbursts of joy, a camper turned to their parent and said, "Oh my goodness, it's my friend. Their voice is so deep. Their testosterone treatments are really working." No one who heard this gave it a second thought. And several of us parents nearby gave each other a knowing look that said, "My kid belongs here. My kid will be safe here. My kid will be loved here." This was a camp for LGBTQIA+ youth, a place where kids and their families knew they would be welcomed, seen, celebrated, and held in safety. a place where belonging wasn't something you had to negotiate for, a place where joy wasn't rationed, a place where transformation was not feared, a place where the youth and their families knew they would be receiving the welcome, experiencing the belonging, and practicing the joy that everyone inherently deserves, and which is in short supply and under threat in our current political and social climate, especially for those beautiful kids. The kids and their families knew that this was also a place where they could truly be themselves and also be a part of a community that emphasized love and justice and equity, and that celebrated transformation and found connection through diversity. I tell you this story because I believe that this is the kind of community that our shared values and covenants call us to build. And it is precisely the kind of community that we need to build in the face of the rising tide of fascism and authoritarianism in our own country and around the world. This is not theoretical, and that became painfully clear to me just days after I returned home to Washington, D.C. after dropping off my child at that camp. See, a couple days after I returned home, the city was swept up in a federalized law enforcement operation. In my part of the city, which is near the intersections of Adams Morgan, Mount Pleasant, and Columbia Heights, people felt that shift immediately. These neighborhoods have long been home to immigrants who have fled violence and repression in Central America, Southeast Asia, and the Horn of Africa, many escaping crises shaped in part by U.S. foreign policy. For many people in my neighborhood, the intimidation on our streets echoed patterns they had already survived, not just in the lands they had fled, but here in D.C. in their new home. Just 30 years ago, Mount Pleasant had erupted after the police shooting of a Salvadoran immigrant, exposing years of mistreatment and neglect toward Central American residents. That uprising didn't appear out of nowhere. It came after decades in which the U.S. denied asylum to refugees fleeing civil wars that the U.S. had helped create, and leaving these people vulnerable to deportation raids, racialized policing, and economic exploitation 30 years ago, rhyming with today. And yet, under enormous pressure, these neighborhoods forged communities of sanctuary, cultural affirmation, and mutual aid. Informal networks where people shared information, supported one another, organized for safety, and built connections across languages and cultures by celebrating and joyfully sharing their differences. Because of that lineage, when this newest wave of federalized policing arrived, neighbors weren't starting from scratch. Long before this round of helicopters hovering low over our blocks, people had already built the informal networks that hold a community steady. Group chats, church circles, tenant associations, translators, legal observers, trusted corner stores, and the quiet relationships that make it possible to respond and not just react. For example, one night when law enforcement arrived to the scene of a nonviolent robbery and ICE used this as an example to flood into the neighborhood, residents began to gather. At first a handful, and then more and more people showed up to witness and translate and accompany, or simply be present in plain sight so others would not feel alone. I can't say for sure whether the authors eventually left before swarming into apartment buildings because the crowd was there, but I'm sure they played a role, and that they deserve credit because the act of gathering matters. This crowd reminded people of who they were to one another. It let fear and anger sit beside memory and courage. It let grief sit next to hope. And in that mix, fear, grief, endurance, gratitude, stubborn joy, you could see something essential: the long, patient work of a community refusing to let injustices sever its connections. The work didn't begin that night, and it didn't end there, but it's what teaches us that when we hold one another, the good things and the hard things together, our communities grow stronger. When I was first meditating on an earlier version of this message, I knew the title would be Packing Light. This was because the Davies Backpack Blessing was coming up, and I was thinking about a message that invited us to consider all that we carry and to be mindful about those burdens, that emotional baggage, those patterns of behavior that maybe we could set aside as we journey into the year ahead. But the more I sat with this idea, the more I realized I don't want our communities to be places where anyone is asked to leave any part of them behind. Yes, many of us are carrying a lot right now. Every week seems to bring another injustice, more political anxiety, more loss, fear, grief, or simply exhaustion. We're all carrying economic worry, illness, some of us addiction and sadness and uncertainty. And at the same time, we carry joy. We carry gratitude. We carry conviction, commitment, faith, and hope. We carry the whole human mix, just like my neighborhood, just like my kids' summer camp, just like every community that keeps choosing connection in the face of fear. So my point is this: a true community of belonging does not require us to pack light in the sense of setting parts of ourselves aside. What I want for Davies and for Accotink and for each of us is to be a people who can bring our whole selves through the door. A people of light and love and all of those wonderful things, but also a people who know how to hold one another through the difficult times. A community where joys are magnified and the weight of our burdens is eased because we're not carrying them alone. Beloveds, I believe this is the antidote to the project of authoritarianism. Systems of control thrive on our isolation. They want us to be private, silent, and uncertain of our worth. These systems want us to believe safety comes from narrowing ourselves to fit into someone else's vision of who deserves protection and who is worthy. But that is not safety. It is not love. Real safety comes from connection, from the shared practices of equity, justice, welcome, and care. Real safety grows when people know that they belong, where diversity is cherished, and where we trust one another to show up whole. So if we're going to pack anything light, let it be the light we tend together, the light of compassion, justice, pluralism, and deep welcome. Let us carry that light. Let us share it. And let us remember that we, all of us, and each of us individually, are worthy of it. Amen. And may it be so.
Love will guide us, peace has dried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Please rise now in body or in spirit and join in our closing words. As we extinguish our chalice, I invite you to join me in our community blessing with these words of David Bumbaugh, slightly adapted. This church is dedicated to the proposition that by celebrating our differences and embracing our diversity, we honor the unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity. Now that we've gathered together in this welcoming and inclusive spiritual home, let us go out into the world inspired to share our values.